Hi everyone, TARDIS Guy 123 here, and today I am doing another review of a story set in Paris. This time it is the Reign of Terror. Last time it was City of Death, and I need to apologise about something in that review because unfortunately I forgot to rate it. Not sure how I made that mistake, but basically I think many of you probably guessed from my overwhelmingly positive attitude in that review that I would give it a 10 out of 10. So there you go, there's your rating for that story, for those of you who wanted to know. And now on to a story set in Paris, which isn't much of a comedy. It's got some comedic elements in it, but at the same time it's a serious historical drama in a lot of ways, and there's quite a lot of serious stuff going on here, because it is quite a dark period of history on display right there. So then, let's have a look at the cover here. You've got BBC DVD written right there, same as normal. You've got Doctor Who, The Reign of Terror. You've got a nice, it almost looks like a painting in a lot of ways, with the image of William Hartnell right there in colour, and you've got Barbara and Susan in the back there. You probably can't make them out, but it is them, I'm pretty sure, and they're on sort of like a cart type thing. You've got the TARDIS to the left there with some flames going on around it, and there you have Madame Guillotine, who plays quite a big role in this story, even though the actual footage of it is, I'm pretty sure, archive footage. But anyway, down there you have the William Hartnell years, 1963 to 66. And now let's take a look at the spine. Quite a nice spine there, with The Reign of Terror written on it. You've got BBC, DVD stuff, Doctor Who, William Hartnell right there, The Reign of Terror, and then got BBC to Entertain logo. And when you actually buy this, it will come with the new colourful BBC logo at the bottom there. If you want the to Entertain logo to fit with the rest of the shelving, you'll have to flip the cover around. Then on the reverse here, we have Doctor Who starring William Hartnell, The Reign of Terror by Dennis Spooner, and you've got some images up here from the story itself, and then down there you have the blurb. And this special DVD release contains the original episodes 1, 2, 3 and 6, plus brand new animated versions of episode 4 and 5, currently missing from the BBC archives. So yep, 2 animated episodes in this. I'll talk more about the animation in a bit, but then on to special features. You have commentary, and another commentary there on episode 4, and another commentary on episode 5 as well, so quite a bit of commentary there. Don't Lose Your Head, which is quite a nice little making of featurette. For the most part it's standard stuff, but it's still quite nice to watch. It's also quite nice to have a featurette from this early in Doctor Who, because you don't really get that many actually from this early on, because most people have sadly passed away who worked on this. But yeah, you get some nice insight into them making up the story in that one. And then you've got a set tour as well, and some other stuff, and a coming soon trailer. So yeah, wonderful stuff right there. Now let's open this up and take a look. On the inside here you have The Reign of Terror, what's it called, booklet right there, and then the one disc, just the one disc on this one, and yeah, it's quite basically the same as the cover there, and that's also basically the same as the cover on the booklet. But now let's take a closer look at that. There it is, and then if we open this up, you can see The Reign of Terror at the top there with all these special features listed once again. And on the back here you have the 6 parts, sorry, not 4, 6 parts of the story and the chapter points written there. And also quickly, I'd just like to show you, you can see a sticker up there which says features 2 exclusive animated episodes. That isn't normally there. That's actually on the cover. I think it's on the sort of like the wrapping of it, and I just peeled it off and stuck it there because I wanted to keep it. So that is that. And now let's put that away and talk about the story itself. And well, and what a wonderful story it is. And now, I did praise the City of Death a lot, and I'm afraid if you don't like me praising stuff, well, you're in for a lot more here, because I'm going to praise this story. It's oddly enough a forgotten story in a lot of ways. You know, when you hear about people talking about the historicals, you hear them talk about Marco Polo and the Aztecs, you don't hear Reign of Terror mentioned that often, and that's actually quite a shame, because I think this is a real gem. Maybe it's because 2 animated episodes drag it down or so, I don't know, but it just seems to end up being forgotten. But I really, really enjoy this, and I'm probably quite controversial in saying this, but it is my favourite pure historical story. I do prefer this to the Aztecs. Now, yeah, that is quite a controversial statement to make, and bear in mind, I haven't seen / listened to all of the historicals. I haven't listened to Marco Polo yet, and quite a few other ones, but nevertheless, I still think that this is my favourite historical. From what I have seen, it is a wonderful, wonderful story in many ways. You know, William Hartnell is on point in this as the Doctor, and you know, he sort of like carries the story on his own for the most part, because they're very much split up, the TARDIS crew. You've got the Doctor following one strand of the story, and you've got Susan and Barbara following another, and then Ian following his own. And William Russell was absent for the recordings of episodes 3 and 4. Ironically enough, he was on holiday in Paris for those 2 weeks, and he came back to do parts 5 and 6. Sorry, and there were pre-filmed inserts for his character, sort of like explain his absence, but you know, they really do fill in very nicely. It's almost as if he was there originally. They do work that well, and they do carry his part of the story very nicely. You know, you still can't notice that he's a bit absent from the majority of proceedings, but nevertheless, he does get some good stuff to do in those 2 parts. So yeah, that's very good for him. And then Susan and Barbara mainly get to be sort of like locked up for the most part, and you know, Susan does the hysteria part very well, you know, and you sort of like understand. You can understand her position. You know, usually people complain about her screaming, but in this, you know, she's locked up in a sewer cell. She's not feeling too well, and you know, you can sort of like, if not sympathise with her, then at least sort of like understand her a little bit. But Barbara very much again carries that half of the story, and is sort of like the one who's saying that they're going to get out of it, the one who's providing the hope, but at the same time it's sort of like sticking with Susan, and you really do see that it's sort of like become a mother-daughter relationship in a lot of ways, or maybe an older sister, younger sister relationship, because they have become very close by this point in their sort of like story. And then there's the Doctor, who is sort of like trying to get them out, and you sort of like get his own little misadventures of his trip to Paris, where he runs into the taxman type person, the one who's forcing people to work on the road, the tax dodgers and whatnot, and he sort of like has a confrontation with him, and then ends up getting caught up in that little world. And you know, it's nothing that really advances the story. It's mainly just panning, but it's a nice little episode in itself, really, a nice little self-contained story within the main story, and it's a nice bit of comedy. I guess it's sort of like a nice bit of light relief away from the main story itself. And then there's the infamous scene where the Doctor whacks this man over the head with a shovel. Yeah, well, what can you do? He's alive after it. The Doctor's also quite happy after it. I don't know, maybe they should have given that thing to one of the workers or something, I don't know. The way that whole scene works out, yeah, it's a bit off, but it's still quite funny just to see William Hartnell whack. Well, you don't actually see it. The camera sort of cuts away to this man just sort of like showing a disgusted. Well, yeah, I guess you could say disgusted facial expression at what is happening, but it's just quite amusing nevertheless that William Hartnell whacked a man over the head with a shovel. And yeah, it's just one of those things, really. You can either take it or leave it. You know, some people are going to be really annoyed with that, and some people aren't going to be bothered by it. I doubt anyone's going to be overly happy with it. I think it might have been better to leave it out, but it's in there. You can't do anything about it, and I just personally choose to laugh at it and move on. So yeah, that's that little scene. And then there's the whole part 1 is wonderful. This is the part where they're all together, and you get to see some interesting scenes. I haven't seen the Sensorites, so I don't know entirely what was going on at the start there with the Doctor trying to get rid of Ian and Barbara, but nevertheless it is quite wonderful, the scenes at the start of this story here with with Ian and Barbara sort of like trying to persuade the Doctor for them to part on better terms and whatnot, and then they go outside and suddenly find out that they're not in England and whatnot, and then they head to a farmhouse and find that they're in the Reign of Terror, and then you find out that that's the Doctor's favourite period in the history of Earth. Of course it is. The violent old bugger, he whacks people around the head with a shovel, so of course it's like a period of history where people get their heads chopped off. But yeah, that's just quite interesting. It's a nice link back to the start of the series as well. It probably wasn't intentional, but you sort of like see in An Unearthly Child Susan reading a book on the Reign of Terror, and you know, it's quite interesting to see how it loops back to that in a way. It probably wasn't intended, but nevertheless, as an end for the first series of Doctor Who, it's nice that it does come full circle in a lot of ways to the start of Series 1 as well. So yeah, I think that's quite an interesting little loop back there. And yeah, overall, I do love this story. It's got many twists and turns, some unexpected twists towards the end of this story as well, which I won't spoil because it is quite interesting to experience that for yourself. And overall, it just makes me love historicals. I don't know why. I'm one of those people who really does love historicals and wishes there were more of them, because, you know, I think Nick Briggs actually in a recent Big Finish podcast said that a historical, when done well, a period of history feels like an alien planet, and it really does, and this sort of like shows that point as well, and that is very interesting and very fun as well. Just sort of like have these trips back into history where there are no aliens involved, and you know, it sort of like shows this period of Doctor Who history where the Doctor wasn't out there to save the universe and battle monsters. He was just enjoying himself, travelling through time, and this sort of like shows that he's not really trying to save people, he's just trying to make sure history stays on track and that they can get back to the ship as well. And that is very much sort of like what's going on in this story, and it works out very nicely in this story in particular. And it's also sort of like the same plot of the Aztecs as well. They're trying to get back to the ship, and also maybe to an extent Marco Polo at the same time. But there is other interesting stuff going on there, and just exploring history in this way where there's no aliens involved is very nice and works out very nicely for the Reign of Terror. Now for the animation, which I was on about earlier. Yeah, admittedly, it's an alright style of animation, I guess. It sort of like blends into the background by the time you get into episode 5. At least it did for me. I didn't really notice it that much. It didn't distract me a whole lot. And, you know, it's sort of like that culture shock at first when you're going from it's like a real life part 3 into the animated part 4. And you know, that's sort of like, yeah, culture shock is probably the best way to describe it when you go into that. Especially if you're watching them one after the other, it is a bit odd. But by the time you've reached part 5, you don't really notice it, and then you suddenly get the shock again when you go into part 6. At least that's the way it works out for me. I feel that the direction, I think the animation style is fine, but the direction is a bit odd towards the start of part 4 at least. There are a lot of random jumps about different things, and it is quite odd, quite erratic, and I'm not sure what was going on there, but it does calm down, and you know, it turns out quite nicely in part 5. So that is my opinion on the animation in The Reign of Terror, and I think, you know, you really just have to watch both parts together to really get used to it. You can't really just watch a random clip and decide whether you like it or not, because, you know, that doesn't really work, because of the whole, you need to get over the shock that it's not actually live action, I will say. So, yeah, that is my opinion on the Reign of Terror animation. It is better than the Ice Warrior animation by a great deal. Not up there with the Moonbase animation or the Invasion animation, but still, it's good. It's good, I will give it that. So, those are my thoughts on the Reign of Terror. I hope you have enjoyed this review, and oh, I almost forgot to rate it again. This is becoming a really bad habit. But actually, I'm going to go 10 out of 10 once again. It seems Paris is lucky in Doctor Who, because both stories set in that place I have given 10 out of 10. So yeah, 10 out of 10 to this, 10 out of 10 to City of Death. Two wonderful stories, very different stories, but still two wonderful stories at the same time, and I really do love this historical. I think it is wonderful. So thank you for watching, everyone, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everyone.